Good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Schilling with Sequoia Health, bringing you this week's Wednesday Wellness Minutes. We're excited to bring you this segment to you. A lot of people have questions about this. As we're all being affected by the rollout of 5G in our communities, any one of us who is paying attention to what's going on is aware of how it's happening and trying to find resources. So I've tried to put together some concise information. Lord knows we could talk about this for hours, and we don't have hours. We right now just need a small snippet to get your taste buds excited about learning more about this and understanding how it's affecting you. So I'm not going to go into a long explanation. I'm certainly no expert on cellular radiation. I do know that it's considered microwave radiation. I have a friend who works in the telecom industry who said some guy was actually working on a cell phone transponder, and it's supposed to have a lockout dead switch on it, and anyway, it turned on and basically cooked the guy. So if you know anything about microwaves create excitation in the water molecules. They excite the water molecules. Water molecules move faster and faster, and they create friction or heat, if you will, and that's what tends to break down the protein or denatures the protein. So when you put your food in a microwave, it cooks it by causing the water molecules to go faster and create heat. Well, you can imagine that on your body. So for those of us who are wise enough at this point to stay away from technology as much as we can, I'm going to strongly encourage you to do the same, because cell phones have been classified by, I think even the WHO, which is shocking to think of, as a Class B carcinogen, which Class 2B, so there's obviously a bunch of different classes, but the fact that it's been labeled as a carcinogen should be of concern to you. I know they've been long time dismaying or dismissing the ideas of holding your cell phone next to your head, causing tumors and things like that. But I can assure you that the more exposure you have, the less protected you're going to be. As a result, some other things you might consider as challenging to your nervous system or your immune system would be DDT, lead, burning dry cleaning chemicals and things like that, coal, burning coal. Those are all considered carcinogens in the same class as cell phones. So you don't want to eat paint chips that are lead filled or anything like that. But what you want to do is be aware that this is a big problem. Now, how widespread is 5G? Like I said, I'm not going to get too far into the woods about what the technology is, but understand that it has potentially a very detrimental effect, very damaging effect on your health and your immune system. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But the U.S. has approximately 5,500, we'll call them intensifiers, like these little pods that these 5G are basically. They need more of them to intensify it and to make it go faster. So U.S. has about 5,500 of them. Within the United States, New York has somewhere around 900 to 1,200, depending on if you consider the ones that are right around the border around New York. California has about 400 of them. Even in Minnesota, there's 280 different 5G intensifiers, shall we say. I don't know the technical term for them, but think of them boosters, call them boosters. So if the U.S. has 5,500, the rest of the entire planet has about 2,300 different boosters for 5G. So we got a lot of them here. Europe, which is about the same landmass as the U.S., has about 1,200 of these 5G boosters. And if you understand, that is just a magnitude of 1,000%, 1,000-fold when you think about 1,200 in Europe, about the same size landmass, just slightly larger than the U.S., and then we have 5,500 here. So the effect on us is much more dramatic, and we're going to see it affecting us much more and more. Interestingly enough, when you think about who controls the 5G rollout and everything like that, basically the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, has actually forbidden local municipalities from stopping and or limiting the expansion of 5G based on health concerns. So people have raised this concern. They said, yeah, we have concerns about it. It's never been tested. We have concerns about it. In fact, I did a search, and I'll tell you what site it is, but I did a search on Woodbury, specifically Woodbury, Minnesota, to see where the 5G is, and the one booster that I could find is right near Pioneer and Lake Road, which is right across the street from an elementary school and a middle school, which is fascinating because kids are already under enough stress as it is, and then you put that gigantic bomb right across the street from them. So we have to be very mindful of it. It's not on school grounds from what I can tell from the map, but it is directly across the street. So our the old song, children are our future, right? Better start protecting them now, because As you can tell by the fact that there's 1 in 36 kids is considered having some type of autism spectrum now. This is going to play a role in kids getting either healthier or sicker. The wireless industry has actually refused to do studies on this as far as human health goes. And some people argue that's so they can claim that there's no evidence of human effect and harm on the human body. But I can assure you that if you stick your head in a microwave, it's not going to be good for your health. And if you hold a microwave transponder up to your head, it's not going to be good for your health. Some of the effects on the human body. Think of your body as an electrical organ. And if you think about doing muscle EMGs, electrocardiograms, electroencephalographs, like we do with brain training here, you're actually measuring the electromagnetic waves of the body. So your skin is an electrical organ. It conducts a low level of current. And if you understand that, when you have things like 5G that come into your body and affect your body, it disrupts your electromagnetic field. And we'll get into a little bit about how widespread it is and where it's coming from. It's not just on the earth, it's coming from the skies as well. So it leads to basically when 5G and other radiation hits your body in excessive amounts that your body can't handle or is affected by so strongly that you start getting what's called a cytotoxic cell reaction, which your cells become so toxic they die because of the interrupted electromagnetic field. Think of your cells as little grapes, and they have little electromagnetic fields around them. So they're electrical beings as well. And when that EMF comes in, whether it's 5G or anything, comes in and irritates that electromagnetic field, it's going to weaken those cells. And as a result, it's going to cause your cells to be ill. Great example of this in current times would be COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2. And that's a result of the people who are most susceptible and the people that are dying from it are having their bodies so dramatically interrupted in their EMF fields that their bodies are actually creating these cytotoxic cell reactions, but they're so dehydrated and their livers are so toxic and their lymphatics are so sludgy that they can't get the toxins out from the lymph in the lungs and things like that, so they end up suffocating. It's not, respirators don't do anything for you because it's not the musculature of the lungs that's not working, it's the mucus layer and the layer over the lung that's becoming affected by it, and then those people have breathing issues. When you have the cytotoxic cell reaction, you actually release things called exosomes. And your body has them already, makes them already from your stem cells. And what they do is, depending on the type of reaction, it might release more DNA fragments, it might release more RNA fragments. In the case of the coronavirus, it's an RNA-based RNA-based genetic material that they're finding, and that's how they're classifying it as a coronavirus, because that's RNA-based, from what I understand. So when you want to think about it, your body produces viruses when it has a cytotoxic cell reaction. They don't get transmitted from you or me to you or any one of us. I could have someone who's quote-unquote tested positive by, Lord knows, the completely inaccurate and ineffective testing that they're doing. These quick tests, these 5-minute tests, the RT-PCR that they're using, which was never intended to diagnose infectious disease. What they're doing is they're saying that, we're finding this genetic material, but RT-PCR is going to actually amplify it. It's going to make the tissues grow. So if you make anything grow long enough, you're going to find a bunch of it. Keep that in mind. So you have to understand this. We put out a post asking people to raise their hand and ask our governors to open up our businesses again. And not us particularly. It has nothing to do with us. We're a healthcare clinic. We're considered essential because we provide an essential benefit to our population. So we're not affected, but we understand health and vitality and how viruses work and things like that more than the average layperson. So for us to say we encourage our governors to open these businesses and allow everybody getting back to work, but protecting the 1 to 2%, at this point they're saying it's 0.01%, but the 1%, let's just call them 1%, of people that are susceptible, that have predisposed lung conditions, that are toxic, that are immunocompromised and things like that, you got to protect them. So put these people in the bubbles, put them in the vacuums, if you will, to protect them from this. But let everyone else develop the so-called herd immunity so that everybody can get over it, basically. So we don't come at it from a selfish standpoint, a gain for our standpoint as an organization. It has nothing to do with us. But we've had some pretty fun nastygrams as far as that goes, because people are confused about, they're getting information from, Anthony Fauci, Dr. Anthony Fauci, who is basically a mouthpiece for the pharmaceutical companies and the industries, and he's providing the information based on what they're telling him to tell you. If you're not fact-checking that, if you're not looking into other sources, if you're not doing third-party verification of what is being presented to you, you're basically being led by, a shepherd. You're a sheep in the flock. So do your homework. Don't take our word for it. Don't take anybody's word for it. But make sure you get multiple sources that verify it, so you understand what's going on. So even in the NIH, National Institutes of Health, they're doing research. The foremost research on viruses is talking about exosomes and how your body produces them rather than you producing, or rather than them being passed from human to human. So just do your research and understand that. So I'll get back on the farm. I tend to drift off there, but understand that what happens when the EMFs, whether it be Wi-Fi or cell phone radiation, 5G, anything like that, major radio waves, everything like that affects your body and it disrupts your EMF field. So there are alternatives to 5G. The most notable one is fiber optic cable, which Lord knows people have to put under the ground, and it's more costly than 5G, because if you can send it through the air, guess what? You can't see it, touch it, or feel it, and you just send these little boosters and put them every certain distance, and then bing, 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 just like the nodes on your nerves. They're called myelin sheath. They have little nodes that allows things to skip. Well, when you have more nodes of this 5G, it helps it skip faster and gives you better service, faster service, more data at a faster rate. Problem is, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Okay, so just understand that there are alternatives. Now, if you look up the website called SpeedNet or speedtest.net, so that's speedtest.net. If you look up that, that's basically to test your Wi-Fi signal, your landline LAN speed as far as your internet goes. On that site, you'll look at the bottom of the page, sort of the bottom right, and you'll look at, it's called I don't know if it's pronounced Ookla or Akla, the 5G map. So if you click on that, it'll bring up a whole map of what they're tracking as far as the deployment of 5G. So that's a great resource to look at. And that's going to show you by country, by city, by state. That's how I found the one on Woodbury. So that's how I gave you the numbers. Basically, they're tracking the deployment of 5G. So that's a great resource. So www.speedtest.net, speedtest.net. Interesting enough, if you take that map and you were able to overlay it on top of the Johns Hopkins heat map for COVID-19, where you find the greatest level of 5G deployment, you will find the greatest level of COVID-19 cases. Okay? Coincidence? Of course, there are no coincidences in life. Okay? Nothing happened. There's no happenstance. There's no coincidence. So the Johns Hopkins University of Medicine website is coronavirus.jhu.edu, or just type in Johns Hopkins heat map COVID-19 and it'll pop up. And it'll show you this fancy dashboard. You can look by city, by country, and things like that. So what you want to understand is the first city in China to have full, complete deployment of 5G, can you guess what it is? Where did this whole epicenter of this epidemic, pandemic start? Wuhan, China. Okay, so these don't happen by chance. It's not a coincidence that you had the massive deployment of 5G in a city, and then you can look at where else is there massive 5Gs. Northern Italy has a lot of 5G. New York, we just talked about a minute ago, has in the state of New York has 900. In the surrounding, it's 1,200 5G boosters. Look at where we have the most common cases in the U.S., at least at the very beginning, right? You have these massive reactions to this boosting electromagnetic disrupting frequency, microwave radiation, that's messing up your EMF, which is causing your cells to become cytotoxic. Your body's responding by creating exosomes and creating the viruses that your body actually has and produces in response to its body's immune reaction. Okay? That's a lot of technobabble. It's a lot of fancy words, but basically you got an outside force that's interrupting your body's homeostasis or homeodynamics. As a result, your body is becoming toxic. Okay? Not everyone's affected the same way. Some people are more resilient. Some people sleep more, eat better, drink more water, and things like that. Some people are older in years. Most everyone who's dying from complications of COVID-19, because they don't die from COVID-19, they say this person died after having tested positive for COVID-19. They don't say it killed you. They don't say it killed anyone, but they say this person died after having tested positive. And then they're saying, well, we're not really sure how to diagnose it, so we're looking at the symptoms, which are the same as the common flu, if you know that. And they're saying, well, this has got to be COVID-19, even though it could be the common flu. And that you can look up on the CDC website for between 12 and 61,000 people have died every year from the common flu since 2010, I believe. But look up on the CDC website. It's their own statistic. I think it was 2017 to 2018, that flu season, 61,000 people died. I think, I get so nauseated by it now, I can't even look at the Worldometer website to see what the count is anymore, because it's just laughable. At any rate, what you want to understand is that where you have the greatest levels of 5G, you're going to have the greatest levels of disease. Okay? And it doesn't stop there. It's not just in the cities. So the man-made electrification of the country, let's back up a second. The man-made electrification of the planet started way back when, somewhere, circa 1917, 1918, when they started deploying radio waves in widespread format. Well, if you know anything about the history, then you're going to understand that the Spanish flu, which didn't start in Spain, it started actually in Cambridge, Massachusetts, of all places, at a military base because of massive deployments of radio waves. So every time you see a massive shift in the electrification of the planet, you get a pandemic or an epidemic. So whether it's 1918 Spanish flu, whether it's the Asian flu in 1957, whether it's the Hong Kong flu in 1968, you've got radar deployment I think radar deployment was in 57. Don't quote me on that. Look it up. Hong Kong flu, I'm pretty sure, was 28 military satellites started beaming down information and stuff like that. There's something estimated between 20 and 30,000 satellites floating around the Earth right now in what's called the Van Allen belt. Van Allen belt is basically the intermingling of the atmospheres from the space and from the Earth. And so what they found is that's a great place to have things orbiting, because I think it's probably part of the magnetic field and the electromagnetic field from the Earth that holds the gravity holds the satellites in that belt. As a result, when they're planning on 100,000 of them. So just imagine when those are beaming down from the Earth atmosphere, what that's going to do to us then. You have to understand the effect of these things, and they're not testing them on humans to figure out how effective they are or how damaging they are, because then they have to actually spend time studying these things. And they've actually debunked a bunch of studies, and they've said, no, that's not good enough, you got to do another one. They're spending $30 million a pop in these studies to figure out how they're affecting people. So then you want to go to the next extent and say, okay, what happens when you get these EMFs coming down from outer space and from these boosters around us, and they're interacting with the metals in our bodies, whether they come from vaccines or metal in your teeth or things like that, implants in your bones, like if you fracture a bone and you get plate in your shin, in your ankle, in your wrist, or your arm, something like that, they're like antenna. They're magnifying the effect. So if you have any metal in your body, whether it be in your teeth, in your joint, anywhere in your body, you want to get that out. Okay, it's just a magnifier of all these EMFs. Okay? It's like an antenna. So people want to know, like, what do I do about this? What can I do to protect myself? What can I do to fend this off? I basically say limiting exposure is the best case. Harmonizing it is the next best. Complete elimination, like if you could go off the grid, would be the best case scenario. But I'm sure, even out in the country now, they have cell phone towers and stuff like that. So if it's impossible to escape it, what do you do about it? You can deflect it, per se, by using things like silver-lined netting and things like that. You can create Faraday cages in your home by using paint on the walls. You can use film lining over windows. You can buy clothing that has mesh in it that's going to protect you from it. We use Hedron products in our clinic, whether it be the cell phone harmonizer, the large device harmonizer, it would be a home harmonizer, things like that. You can get pendants. You can get things for your cell phone on your body for exercise and things like that. What you want to do is at very least, harmonize these things, okay? If that's not enough, if you're electromagnetic sensitive to these EMFs from 5G and things like that, from Wi-Fi, even from your furnace. Your furnace puts out EMF, but that's more electrical rather than Wi-Fi and microwave radiation. So there's a bunch of different EMFs. There's a bunch of different categories. Safe Living Technologies has great technology as far as what you can get the paint, you can get the mesh netting for your bed, you can get, I think, clothing on there. You can get EMF meters and things like that. So I have no affiliation with Safe Living Technologies. I don't have any affiliation with Hedron. I just know they're great companies and they provide great products. So if you want to get good products, contact us for that information, or just look up Hedron, EMFprotection.com. Safe Living Technologies is slt.co. If you need to move your home, like if I was living over on the corner of Pioneer and Lake, I'd be moving personally. But that's just a start, right? Where are they going next? I probably live, as the crow flies, 2 miles from there. So, clearly I'm probably being affected by it. People in that neighborhood are just getting whacked. because the booster's right there. But these are some things you can do to help yourself. Basically, what EMFs do is they destructure the water in your body. Your body has a certain structure, your water has a certain structure, and that EMF field provides a structure. And it's what helps your body function, helps it detoxify, helps it cleanse, helps it heal. If you're destructuring your water in your body through EMFs, whether it be radio waves, cell phone towers, EMFs from Wi-Fi routers, the list goes on and on. Maybe you live near the airport, big old radar, over there. There are a bunch of things that are going to affect you. We can't really escape the satellites, so we need to start lobbying our congressmen and women in order to start limiting this, because it's just like the vaccines have a vaccine court now. They basically have immunity from every. The U.S. government has a vaccine injury fund, and the pharmaceutical companies have there's no recourse. You have to go to the U.S. government and say, I've been injured by a vaccine. Well, now we're going to have to go to the U.S. government and say, I'm being injured by 5G, by EMFs and stuff like that. You need to understand how dramatic this is impacting your health and take steps proactively. Prevention is the cure. If you're taking steps proactively, what you can do is use harmonizers, use blockers, use shielding, whatever you got to do. Every person has a different susceptibility to this, but understand that it's destructuring your EMF field, it's destructuring your water in your body, and it's going to lead to ill health over time. There are so many things that can affect our bodies from the outside. Rather than focusing your energy on fearing some type of virus from the outside, focus on optimizing your internal environment. Exercise regularly, drink at least half your body weight in ounces every day, and do more if you exercise. Sleep adequately. Proper nutrition, okay? Real food, not food-like substances. These are just 4 simple things you can do. I'm sitting in a PMF chair. I do this every day without exception, unless it's on the weekend. I don't come in here to the clinic. But all of our team members do it in the morning or at lunch or in the afternoon or both. But this recharges your cells. It charges your batteries in your body like you charge your cell phone. This is another great tool. So if you have questions about that, give us a call. We'll be happy to provide that for you. It's invaluable. It can shorten your healing time if you're trying to rescue your health down into to 20% from what it would be. It does one thing, it does it every time. It provides a positive, healthy energy field into your body, which charges your cells, restructures your water, and gets your body healing. That's all it does, and does it well. Okay? So I hope this brief synopsis has been helpful, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. But if you understand what's going on with your health and what's affecting you from the outside, because you can't see, touch, or feel Wi-Fi, you can't see, touch, or feel cell phone signal. If your phone's on you all the time, you can't change that. Or excuse me, you can change that. You can get away from it, turn it off, turn on airplane mode at night, shut it down, shut your Wi-Fi router down. Talk to your neighbors and say, hey, let's all get together and shut down our Wi-Fi routers and stuff like that. Have it be a community effort. We all get ahead with a little help from our friends, okay? So let us know if this has been beneficial. Add your comments below. If you have a question, please share it. Other people will have the same question, I can guarantee it. We're obsessed with providing you empowering information that makes your life enhanced so you can live your best life. That's our mission, that's our purpose. Let us know how we can serve you. That's why we do these segments, is to provide you value and serve you. We'll continue to do them until people say, you know what, we've got enough. We're pretty sure that's never going to happen. So at any rate, we'll sign off for now. We'll look forward to seeing you next week for the Wednesday Wellness Minutes. Let us know how we can help you live your best life. All right, take good care. Bye-bye.